There's a new Katherine Heigl in Hollywood and her name is Jenna Ortega. You might remember that Katherine Heigl for one hot minute in the noughties was the sweetheart of every rom-com TV show. She was a gorgeous blonde. She was on magazine covers.
She was
Everybody loved her. Grey's Anatomy.
Knocked up. She was knocked up.
And then the narrative started that she was difficult, and very quickly she disappeared. Anyway, if you're scratching your head about the name Jenna Ortega, it's because you didn't watch Netflix's Wednesday, which most of the world did, right? But if you did watch Wednesday, you might be disappointed to hear what the 20-year-old Disney star says about the process of making that show. She was on Dax Shepard's Armchair Expert last week, and she said this about working on Wednesday.
I don't think I've ever had to put my foot down on a set in a way that I had to on Wednesday, because it's so easy to fall into that category, especially with this type of show. Everything that she does, everything that I had to play, did not make sense for her character at all. Her being in a love triangle made no sense. Her going, there was a line about like a dress that she has to wear for a school dance, and she said, "Oh my God, I love it. Oh, I can't believe I said that. I literally hate myself." And I had to go, no. There's no way. There was times on that set where I even became almost unprofessional in a sense, where I just started changing lines. The script supervisor thought that like I was going with something, and then I would have to sit down with the writers, and they would be like, "Wait, what happened to the scene?" And I would have to go through and explain why I couldn't do certain things. I grew very, very protective of her, but you can't lead a story and have no emotional arc, because then it's boring and nobody likes you.
Not everybody was chuffed with what Jenna said on Dax Shepard. And while no one who actually worked on Wednesday has gone on the record about it, not least because season 2 is definitely underway, TV writer and producer Stephen DeKnight went viral with his take, where he labelled Jenna's behaviour toxic. He tweeted, "I love talking with actors about their lines and stories, but by the nature of the beast, they don't have the full picture in TV of where the story is going and why some lines are needed for the whole show. She's young, so maybe she doesn't know any better, but she should. She should ask herself how she would feel if the showrunners gave an interview and talked about how difficult she was and refused to perform the material. This kind of statement is beyond entitled and toxic. I love her work, but life's too short to deal with people like this in the business." Those words, entitled and toxic, went around the world with a picture of Jenna Ortega in about 2 seconds. Now, as Laura Brodnick wrote on Mamamia this week, it's a truth universally acknowledged that once a young famous woman becomes immensely popular, she's due for a brutal public teardown. Everyone from Anne Hathaway to Jennifer Lawrence to Lena Dunham to Kristen Stewart and Amy Schumer have felt the wrath of public hatred swing their way following a period of adoration. And that's certainly true. But I want to know, and I want to know from you two in particular, can an actress just like change her lines? Can she question the arc of a character that, yes, she's bringing to life, but a whole team of people created? Does that mean she is a diva and difficult, or does that just mean she has agency? Now, luckily for me, the two people I'm sitting at the table with are currently immersed in the world of TV production for the first time. And so I get to ask you, what do you make of it? Is Ortega being toxic? She's only 20, let's remember. Or is this fair enough?
God, I hate the word toxic. I really do. I just think it's like the word cancelled. It's so sort of permanent and disqualifying. I just really hate it. It's really lazy as well. It's very dehumanising, the word toxic. I think what she is being is unprofessional. And I rarely disagree with Laura Brodnick. I think she's brilliant, but I would challenge her opinion. I think she makes a very good point about, famous Hollywood women who everyone loves. I would draw a line and say there's a difference between Anne Hathaway and Amy Schumer where the public turned, and I agree with that tall poppy thing. Katherine Heigl and Jenna Ortega, that's about the industry turning. It's not about the audience. And I think if you look at what she said, take any workplace that has a project, right? And what Jessie and I have learned is that we might just see the star of the project at the end on a show or a movie, but there are hundreds, usually thousands people working on it. If you've ever watched the credits at the end of a show or a movie, you'll see all their names. Even though, you might come away and go, Wednesday was all about Jenna Ortega and that's all you could say. There's so many people that go into the making of that show. So imagine if you were in any workplace, you did a project, you presented the project, someone was asked publicly about that project, and they dished a whole lot of dirt about the arguments that you had while you were making that project. That is really unprofessional. It's really unfair because the star of the show has the opportunities to do all this media, but no one's actually interviewing the showrunner or the writer or the whatever. And also they don't want to now go out and defend themselves. So she's pulled all of them into having to comment. And if I were her people, the sound I can hear is her people tearing out their hair because she will not work. Like, I'm not saying she won't work again, but there are a lot of great actors in Hollywood. And if you have the choice between someone who's going to go out and trash you and someone, air the dirty laundry that there is in any workplace, and someone who's going to go out and be gracious, you're going to choose the gracious person.
Jessie, can I ask you, though, before you get to you, can I throw out a possible counter-argument? You could say, though, that it's the star of the show who publicly has to wear everything too, right? So if Jenna Ortega, and Wednesday was brilliant, by the way, I watched it all with my kids, as I'm sure lots of our listeners did. If the star of the show, if the dialogue's bad, if the storylines don't ring true, the public don't name the writer and the producer and the director. The public go, Jenna Ortega's in a shit show. So the stakes are higher for the performers than they are for the behind the scenes, right?
That's why you get paid so much.
Yes.
And that's the big difference, right? I am completely on the side of Stephen Denai.
Although let's remember he didn't work on this show. I totally thought he did, reading the headlines. And then I saw, no, he's just like the person in the industry who'll wear it. None of the people who worked on the show could say anything because season 2 is definitely happening.
Importantly, when he did tweet that, a lot of people from the industry jumped on and kind of went, you just said what we all want to say.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
The reason why I hate that he used the word toxic, that sucked.
And entitled.
And I just think that was really unhelpful. As a TV writer and producer, what Denai knows is that the writing of a script takes months, if not years.
Jessie and Claire were part of the writer's room and wrote
for
the
Strife.
scripts for Strife. So you've literally done that.
Yes. So what happens, and I didn't know any of this until very recently, you sit in a room for weeks and weeks on end with, in our case, it was about 7 other writers. You brainstorm, you come up with all these storylines and you think this storyline is so great, but there are 100 reasons why you can't do it. This character needs this kind of tension and this kind of contradiction, and it is so complex how you get there. Then you are given the outline of a sort of story arc and you put it together. And I thought once that was in, there I've written my script. I reckon it gets rewritten 15, 20 times. I remember
because the who gives notes on it?
Oh, everyone. So everyone from the lead writer, the other writers, all of the producers, the creators.
Executive producers.
And sometimes, and in fact, the Jenna Ortega thing, it's important to note that she wasn't a producer on Wednesday. If she was a producer on Wednesday, I would have taken more stock of what she said.
Which is why so many actors want producer
to be
credit.
Producers.
And I'm sure that on Jenna, now that she's a big star with lots of clout, her next production, she will get producer credit.
Oh, I don't know.
Well, maybe not now, but like
literally as we
that's
record.
why they do it, right? So that they get some skin in the game.
As we record this, the episode that Claire and I wrote is being filmed and we can go and watch it, right? If I went and watched it and I saw a character completely on a whim go, I don't think this runs true, I would listen, and I think we all would. We would hear them out. But there are so many stakeholders. It has gone to so many people that part of you, especially if that person was 20, would roll your eyes. And Jenna Ortega, yes, she's been working for 10 years. She was a child star.
Child star, Disney.
The creator of this was Tim Burton. And Tim Burton has made 20 films. A bunch of them are Academy Award nominated. He's 64 years old. There's an element of challenging Tim Burton that you kind of go, come on. Like, I think that what we're seeing is a 20-year-old who's looking at this thinking that they know more than they do.
Well, I think she cares a lot. And I think what Holly said is true. It's like at the end of the day, it is her face up there having to say those lines. And she talked about caring passionately and here's what I think. And of course, the actor, depending on who they are, can have a voice. But I think it's a little bit like the Molly Meldrum thing. There's what happened, which is her having a voice and pushing back. And then there's taking it public.
Yeah, that's the
Yeah.
thing.
You know,
Right?
it's like it's what Molly did at the concert, but then there's filming it and selling the photo, because they're two different things. So it's not that she shouldn't have had a voice and spoken out, but to then go and betray all those people, the arrogance of that and the
Yes.
disloyalty of that, and it's unprofessional.
But the thing is, though, I get that, and I 100%. But I also think that the producer who tweeted the entitled and toxic thing has made this storm 25 million times bigger than it would have ever been otherwise. Because really, I watched Wednesday. She does wear the dress. She is in a love triangle. Like, none of that got written out or whatever. You know, she's just expressing her opinion about that and saying she would have been asked a question about, like, how involved are you in the projects you do, whatever. And she's answering it. And as you have rightly said, Mia, I can just imagine the publicist just going, oh my God.
No.
But if Sam McKnight had not tweeted that, it probably would have rolled on down the river.
I completely disagree. It blew up way before DeKnight jumped in. All the headlines were about her unprofessional, like admits she was unprofessional on set. And for the DeKnights of Hollywood, they don't get a voice, and that must be so frustrating because the work that they do and the way in which they've got to negotiate with so many different people is completely overlooked. And then you get this person come up and she's the only one who gets access to the public. Like, it doesn't feel fair. Mia, I wanted to point out
but
something.
then she also gets absolutely hammered. Like, the stakes, again, are much higher for her than anyone else.
That's what the money's for, Hole.
Oh,
Because she's earning a different
She's 20
amount of.
years old.
But it doesn't matter. She's earning a different amount of money to the writers and the producers.
I feel sorry for her.
I mean, I feel sorry for anyone who's in this situation.
Yes.
But, you asked what we think. And
Yeah, no, I'm really interested. That's why I asked, and I can totally understand it. But I look at Jenna Ortega, who I think is brilliant, and she's 20 years old, and she's not the skinny white blonde who we've always seen in the lead of shows, and she's so good in this. And now because there is no narrative we like better than a difficult woman.
True.
And I question us all about what if you flip the gender on this, whether or not we would be so excited.